we're at Crown Jewel and we kick off the show in style. AJ Styles is here. He's ready for a fight against arguably his most iconic rival. John Cena has touched down in Perth as he charges towards the ring with purpose, and with his signature pose being met with thunderous applause, Cena is ready to have one last classic against Styles. Though before the match can even begin, we see the Los Americanos make their way towards the ring. They want to ruin this matchup, which doesn't slide with the LWO, as Cruz del Toro ends up coming out of nowhere as he battles against a man many call a bruiserweight. All the while Joaquin Wilde fights a big strong boy, and lastly Dragon Lee handles the leader as he drags El Grande Americano to the back. And with Cena and Styles watching on, they refocus their attention onto one another as their match can officially begin. And so, the two lock up, but the leader of the C Nation is able to overpower the Phenomenal One as he drives him into the ropes, though of course, both back off when the referee asks them to, as they lock up for a second time. And Styles is able to quickly grab Cena's arm and wrenches it, although this gets reversed, with Cena now wrenching Styles' arm. But before he can do much more, the Phenomenal One is able to take down the greatest of all time, as he does a little bit of showboating as well. So Cena runs off the ropes, yet Styles ducks under, leapfrogs over, and finally drop kicks Cena down once again, and once again taunts at him. And as soon as John Cena gets up, he decides to immediately lock up with him again, though Styles goes back to big match John's arm, which yields the same result, only this time Cena transitions to the head, wrapping his arms around it. So Styles has to push him off, although Cena stays on the ropes to avoid a second dropkick as the lockups only rage on, with Cena going from behind even though he gets taken down into a headlock. But this doesn't last, as Cena manages to take Styles' arm all the way to his spine, which gets a phenomenal response from AJ Styles, as it's now he who puts Cena's arm to his back. Only this time Cena then does the exact same headlock, which garners a similar response to before, only the opposite way around. And after a shot to the arm, Styles' arm work gets cut off with an early attempt of an AA, which is thankfully for Styles' sake nowhere to be found. As once he gets out of it, he immediately locks in a crossface, yet Cena gets out of it just as quickly before following this up with an early code red. Cena's trying to steal the win early, but this fails as Styles kicks out and kicks back, as he even goes for a springboard moonsault, which Cena evades as he goes for a back suplex, yet a punch stops him in his tracks, at least temporarily, as he then stuns Styles with a kick to the gut before looking for his own springboard, and this also misses, with Styles quickly forearming the seated big match John down. Then before you know it, Styles hurls Cena into the corner, yet big match John fights back, though with a kick to the leg and neck breaker, AJ gets back on top, at least temporarily, as Cena is able to counter with a DDT. Although as he grabs him, the Phenomenal One kicks back and slides him across the ring, and to conclude the sequence, he takes out the leg. And after a further stomp to the same area and taking him down, he just punches the leg to Kingdom Come. And once he's done, he looks for a knee, but no one's home, as Cena fires up the 5 moves of doom, yet he gets cooled down by a spear out of nowhere. Taking a page out of Roman Reigns' book, though this chapter isn't over, as Cena looks to rewrite this story. However, he can't do that quite yet, as Styles continues to control the match. Although as he goes for a second suplex neckbreaker, Cena is able to escape this and take him down. Yet he gets hit in the leg immediately after this, getting taken down by a flying Phenomenal One. Then with a few boot washes to the skull, he goes for the blitz, but at the last second, Cena ducks and nails a shoulder block. And another, before following this through with his signature spinning back suplex. And we all know what comes next, or so you think, as he gets kicked in the face before being locked into a calf crusher. but the rope break breaks the hold. So he locks it back in, this time away from the ropes. Will Cena give up? Well, of course he doesn't, elbowing him in the back, and after getting up, he recharges the 5 moves of doom as the 2 shoulder blocks and spinning back suplex connect flawlessly in quick succession. And this time, the 5-knuckle shuffle is able to be followed up with 0 interruptions. Only 1 move of doom remains, yet this doesn't connect as Styles triple elbows his way out of it, as then he rolls up Cena before picking him up, lowering him to his destiny as he Styles clashes the face that used to run the place. Is this it? No, it's not, as Cena survives. So Styles goes for a phenomenal forearm. However, as he goes off the ropes, Cena is able to catch him mid-air and plant him down with an attitude adjustment. But even Cena's own finishing blow doesn't do the trick. So he instantaneously transitions into the STF. Will this shut AJ Styles up with the opener of Crown Jewel? Well, not quite yet, as Styles just manages to get out of it. And once both men get up, Styles ends up pulling a big trick out of his bag, the Burning Hammer. But he's still not satisfied as he goes for the phenomenal forearm one more time, yet as he gets onto the ropes, Cena runs at him and puts him onto the top turnbuckle. And with Styles in prime position, Cena pulls out his Mega Death option as he joins him up there, puts him onto his shoulders and connects the Super AA. The move that won Cena so many matches can't do such a thing tonight. Styles lives, but this is his last gasp, which we find out when Cena rolls him through, putting him back onto his shoulders to connect one final AA. As with that, John Cena wins. He has overcame the phenomenal one more time, but how the hell do we follow this? While following 2 Unks going at it one last time, it's time for the present and future to take center stage, as it's now time for the Women's Crown Jewel Championship match between Stephanie McGuire and Tiffany Stratton. And the match starts off hot as the WWE Women's Champion attempts to go for a float over Alabama Slam, though the Women's World Champion is able to pick her up. Yet Tiffy is able to be released with a trio of punches, as she then tries to roll her up, but as the ref strikes 2, La Primera is able to kick out and transition into her own roll-up, which similarly only gets a 2, as Tiffany lifts her up and back down into another roll-up, ending the sequence with yet another kick out at 2. And with both women up, Miss Stratton taunts at McGuire, who responds with her own roll-up this time. Both are desperate for the early win, though this roll-up also doesn't work, as once both women rise, Tiffany looks for a shot, which gets blocked as Stephanie McGuire headbutts her not once, not twice, but thrice, and it certainly wasn't nice. As after she's done, she stomps her gut and double axe handles her skull. However, as she grabs her, Tiffy knees her to get back into the match, which merely gets her a vicious German suplex to follow suit. And La Primera goes into the cover, trying again to get the early win, which doesn't work as Tiffany Stratton pushes her off, and then goes for a standing moonsault, but she took too long as McGuire gets out of harm's way before nailing a humongous standing double foot stomp, and she tries another cover, which once again just doesn't do the trick. So she tries a submission, locking in a crossface, although before she can amplify the pressure, Tiffy's time comes around as she manages to claw her way out of the hold, as she then takes McGuire down by the arm, following this up with a drop kick. Then she goes after the leg, as after she's done, she goes for her own double foot stomp, yet McGuire is able to move out of harm's way, rolling her through and hitting a brutal knee strike, crumbling Tiffy time. And if that wasn't bad enough, a powerbomb backbreaker surely is, as McGuire goes into the cover, even though she can only get a 2 count. So she goes for the Devil's Kiss, although Tiffy is able to escape to the outside, but Stephanie follows her with a big suicide dive, and this gets followed up with a huge Meteora from the outside to the floor. and she puts Tiffy into the ring, and she follows her again, yet she's too slow, as Tiffy pops up and manages to connect a float over Alabama Slam, and she goes into the cover, thinking that's it, but she was wrong. So she goes for a PME, yet no one's home, as La Primera Crucifix pins Tiffany Stratton, only for a 2 count. Though she doesn't care, immediately transitioning into a Hell's Gate, but she can't keep it in for long, as Tiffany's able to escape the hold, and then nearly amputates her with a big drop kick. And from here, Tiffy ascends to the heavens, before swanton bombing the Women's World Champion, yet she knows she needs more, as she then goes back to the top rope only for a split second, as she then connects the prettiest moonsault ever. Only Nia Jax has ever kicked out on this move, and you can add Stephanie Vaquer's name to that list. Tiffany is stunned, so she goes for one more, which fails, as Vaquer stops her, meeting her up there, punching her in the back, and back suplexing her down to the depths of hell. Then she picks up the near lifeless corpse, before connecting the original iteration of the SVB. Though the original isn't good enough, as Strine kicks out of one of her biggest moves as well, so she just drops her onto her knee, before going for, and this time flawlessly connecting, the Devil's Kiss. And after this, she follows this through with a running meteor in the corner, and to end the combo, she connects the new current day, better and improved version of the SVB. Though even this doesn't get the job done. Now Stephanie is surprised. However, she stays on the offensive, as after a cornered dragon screw, she then goes for a corkscrew moonsault. Even though no one's home, as Tiffany has a last gasp attempts to roll her up once more, but this doesn't work, so she just batters Vaquer with forearms, although the fourth gets blocked, as it's now Vaquer who overwhelms Tiffany. As after taking her down, she hits a second meteor in the corner, before this time connecting the corkscrew moonsault. As with that, Stephanie Vaquer stands tall. She is now the Women's Crown Jewel Champion. She has just beaten the undefeated Tiffany Stratton, as she's handed her her first loss in 2025. But where do we go from here? Well, up next, it's time for an Australian street fight, and with Braun Breaker being nowhere in sight, Bronson Reed is ready to go to war. And so is Roman Reigns, who dives onto the big man as the referee rings the bell. And when this happens, Reed lariats him down before chucking him into the steel steps, as he then picks them up and smashes them in the OTC's face. And once he plummets him to the ground, he merely picks him back up, scoops him up, and scoop slams him onto the exact same steps. As with the tribal chief down, he goes and grabs a table from under the ring, sliding it into the ring before grabbing a steel chair. But before he can use it, he gets Superman punched out of nowhere. Then he charges up for a spear as he runs at the big man, though no one's home, as Bronson then sends Roman into the barricade. And from here, Bronson grabs the chair and looks to use it onto the tribal chief. Yet he pushes back, launching the chair into his skull as it's his turn to hurl Reed into the barricade. But Roman isn't satisfied as he grabs the chair and smashes it at Bronson over and over and over again until it eventually snaps on him. And even this doesn't make him happy as he puts him into the ring, and even though Bronson pops up, he gets put straight back down with a spear. Only this time, unlike Clash in Paris, Bronson Reed kicks out in one. So Roman goes for another. However, Reed gets his knee up and he goes for a tsunami, though Reigns gets up and chucks him off the top as he then locks in a guillotine choke. Yet before you know it, Bronson Reed powers out of it, and once he does, he connects a big Death Valley driver. Though the OTC stays alive, so Bronson just hurls him to the outside back first before setting up a table in the middle of the ring. Then he just launches himself at the tribal chief, and after nearly breaking his ribs onto the ring post, he wastelands him onto the announcer's table. but his follow-up sledgehammer shot gets blocked, staggering him long enough for Bronson to be hit with a second spear. Then he puts him in the ring and looks for the third, although Bronson counters it with DDT, as he then drops Roman Reigns with a sit-out axe driver. His neck has been spiked, but Bronson isn't done, as he puts Roman onto the table and ascends to the heavens, yet his follow-up tsunami gets avoided, as he crashes and burns through the table before getting Superman punched again. However, he doesn't stay down for long, so Roman Reigns goes for and hits a third spear. Bronson Reed should be done, but he still isn't. Roman is stunned, he doesn't know what to do, as Bronson rises up again, so he charges at him, although he gets taken down, and if that wasn't bad enough, he gets sentoned as well. And now, Bronson goes for a tsunami again, only this time, he gets caught in midair with a fourth spear, but when he goes for the fifth, Bronson flawlessly transitions to a second sit-out axe driver, although he wants to put the nail in the coffin in the match, as he sets up another table, and this time is able to tsunami Roman Reigns through it. And with him going into the cover, the hometown hero beats arguably the biggest star in WWE, and it's inarguably the biggest win of his career. No distractions, no interferences, just a clean win for Big Bronson Reed over Roman Reigns. But what's next? Well, it's now time for the co-main event of the evening, as it's time to find a men's crown jewel champion. The first of the double main event extravaganza, who will prove themselves as the best of the best. Well, if Braun Breaker beats Sentinel back once again, the match is on, and Rollins immediately looks for a kick to the gut, which gets blocked, as Cody then looks for a crossroads, which similarly gets blocked, as he takes down the American Nightmare. And once Cody gets up, he ducks Rollins' next attack, jumps over him, and hip tosses him down to the mat. And once the Visionary gets up, he demands for the WWE Champion to bring it, which he most certainly does, as he hits punch after punch after punch until hitting a little dance and bionic elbowing the Visionary down, who retreats to the outside. And after getting up, he gets met by a big crossbody to the outside, as he even gets smashed into the barricade head first and back first, courtesy of a Russian leg sweep. Then he puts him back into the ring and looks for a strike, although the Messiah flips away and knees Cody straight in the face. However, the American Nightmare pushes back and looks to pedigree the World Heavyweight Champion, but Rollins gets out of it before looking for one of his own. Yet this doesn't work, as Cody clotheslines his way out of his grasp. And from here, he chucks him into the corner, though Rollins kicks back and sling blades him down. Yet the combo isn't done just yet, as he looks for a knee, but no one's home, as the American Nightmare then looks for a Cody cutter. However, just like the knee, no one is home again, as Seth then superkicks Cody to the gut and in the head to take him down. Then a picture-perfect springboard swanton bomb allows Rollins to get the first pin attempt of the match, which won't be the last. But Cody moves out of harm's way, bulldogging Seth down, and from here, the Visionary gets battered into the corner by the American Nightmare. Though once he's done, Rollins is able to push him off, as he looks for another springboard, which this time misses, as Cody Rhodes manages to connect a disaster kick once he gets up. And it's his turn to cover the opponent, failing all the same. So he picks him up, looking for the Cody cutter, this time actually connecting, as he sprawls into the cover, even though the Visionary kicks out. But he's struggling, so here comes Braun Breaker, which gets quite a negative reaction from both Cody Rhodes and especially Seth Rollins. He's screaming at him to leave. He wants to do this on his own, and whilst the referee tries to get Braun out of there, we see a Viper sliver into the ring. Could he? Would he? Well, not on this night, as Randy Orton slivers away before making a mark. and Rollins notices that Cody is distracted, but he waits for him to turn around before they continue the fight. As if a nod of respect from Rhodes, the two begin to brawl like there's no tomorrow, although eventually both men stagger until the American Nightmare manages to quickly kick him in the gut and finally connect the pedigree. Is Triple H's own move the end of the match? No, it's not, as Seth Rollins survives. So Cody Rhodes ascends to the heavens, although his landing ends in horror as Seth manages to hit his own pedigree out of nowhere, and he desperately goes into the cover thinking that may be it. Oh, how wrong he would be. But the Visionary doesn't look shocked for long, as he immediately looks for a stomp following this near fall, which gets caught into a RKO out of nowhere. Yet he isn't satisfied with just that, as Cody calls him up and puts him back down with a crossroads. The move that's put so many of us down can't do the job tonight. So Cody calls for him to get up and looks for a trinity of crossroads, although Rollins escapes this through a roll-up, but Cody kicks out. Yet as he gets up, he gets met by a stomp out of thin air. Is this it? Well, it's still not over quite yet, as Cody Rhodes kicks out. So Seth Rollins goes berserk, nailing a trio of stomps all in quick succession. Yet to finish Cody off, Seth Rollins hits Rhodes' own move, the Crossroads. As with that, Seth Rollins wins. He is the men's Crown Jewel champion, he is the 2025 best of the best in WWE, and he has proven that maybe his vision is inevitable. But now, it's time for the main event of the evening, as it's time for the Kabuki Warriors to take on Io Sky and the birthday girl herself, hometown hero, Rhea Ripley, who will close the show the victor while the match is on, and Asuka is demanding Io to bring it, which she just can't, as she decides to tag out Tamami. And with Rhea asking her why, she gets jumped by the Empress of Tomorrow as she gets taken down by a bulldog and kicked to Kingdom Come. Yet Rhea pushes back, but as she runs off the ropes, she gets kneed in the gut and kicked in the head. And whilst taunting at Io Sky, Asuka then decides to brutalise Mami's arm with a vicious stomp to it. And after a kick to the back, Asuka then locks in a triangle choke. She wants to make Rhea give up this early, though she attempts to powerbomb her off, yet she keeps it locked in. Even a second powerbomb attempt can't stop Asuka, but eventually a third can, as Mami gets some space from the Empress of Tomorrow, although her headbutt misses as she gets back elbowed in the skull. Then she goes for another kick, which gets dodged as Rhea then roundhouse kicks her back, although she then looks to the crowd, allowing for Asuka to jump up and grab her, German suplexing her and bridging into the cover. Yet this of course doesn't get the free count, so she goes back to the arm, wrenching and twisting it until she's satisfied. As she then goes over and gloats at a worried Io Sky, which leads to Rhea similarly jumping up and grabbing Asuka, power slamming and kneeling on her damn neck. Though this seemingly doesn't affect her, as she kicks back and drop kicks her down, yet Rhea crawls her way back up. However, she gets put straight back down with a tackle alongside a double axe handle to the skull. And finally, Asuka tags in Kairi Sane as the two do a neckbreaker and kick combination. The Kabuki Warriors are in firm control, which continues when Kairi locks in a half Boston Crab. But Rhea manages to get out of it almost immediately, although her headbutt gets stopped by a knee and wheelbarrow stunner to follow suit. Then Kairi hurls Mami into the corner, chopping her down and choking her out with her own boot. And once she's done, she sees Io Sky and slightly conflicts, until Asuka screams at her to continue the punishment, as she begrudgingly does, double foot stomping and sliding forearming the former Women's World Champion. But she kicks back like Asuka did, yet it's Kairi's turn to use her legs to get back into the match, rocking Rhea to her core as she chops her down. Although Barbie rises above the ashes, so she gets chopped out again, but once again she gets back up, so Kairi goes for another chop, though this one gets blocked as the headbutt finally lands, creating enough separation for the tag to be made. And Asuka gets the tag as well, as both women stare galaxies through one another, until finally Io Sky makes the first move, as she batters the Empress of Tomorrow all across the ring until she staggers on the ropes, as Io launches herself at Asuka, putting both of them out of the ring. As then, Io gets an idea, hitting a signature springboard moonsault to the outside. But she's still not done, as she builds a full head of steam and suicide dives the Empress of Tomorrow as well. Though as she goes for another, she gets distracted for a moment by Kairi Sane. But this moment was long enough for Asuka to sweep her legs out, as she then tags in Kairi with a two double elbowing Io Sky. Kairi doesn't want this, but she's forced to attack, laying in her Io with kicks, until she too gets her own idea, as she double foot stomps Io's arm before cheap shotting Rhea Ripley as she gets knocked to the outside. And from here, she Irish whips her, continuing her control of the match with a fancy head scissors, and intercepts her by connecting a spear. She thinks that could be it, but Io grabs the ropes, so by orders of Asuka, she continues the beatdown, even choking her out, until she's able to get the tag back into Asuka as she locks in a Black Widow. The crowd hate this, of course, so they're very glad when Io gets out of it. But as she runs at her, she gets caught by a big German suplex. And this gets followed up by a nasty Empress combination, seemingly knocking Io out cold. So much so that she goes into the cover, and so much so that Rhea Ripley has to break up the pin. And this makes Asuka mad, as she gets up on Rhea's grill, but not until she smacks her in the face, and this gives Io enough time to get back into the match, and she's all guns blazing, blinded by rage, and she's all over Asuka, even connecting a bullet train, and this gets followed up with a moonsault, which doesn't miss, although just like Rhea Ripley did, Kairi Sane breaks up the pin. Io Sky can't believe it, and with her arguing with Kairi, Asuka is able to recover and get up. Out of a cheap shot from Kairi, just like Rhea did, Asuka is able to dropkick her out of the corner before lining her up with a series of kicks. As with one to the back, Asuka tags in Kairi Sane, assisting her and connecting in arguably the greatest elbow drop in all of business, in all of sports entertainment, in all of WWE. The insane elbow hits, so Rhea Ripley once again breaks up the pin, and this sends Asuka over the edge as she and Mommy do battle on the outside of the ring. All the while, the same can be said in the ring, with no one having the advantage. But it's until Kairi rocks Io to her core with a spinning back fist, which quickly gets followed up with an anchor submission. But Io Sky doesn't give up, eventually finding a way out of the hold. And with a roundhouse kick to the skull, Io goes high risk for a high reward, and this leads to a humongous avalanche Spanish fly. And with both women down, they both struggle to make the tag. Rhea Ripley and Asuka are in, and Mommy is completely dominating the Empress of Tomorrow. Although as Kairi gets up, Io sacrifices herself to eliminate one half of the Kabuki Warriors. As with Rhea still dominating, she goes for an avalanche riptide, which connects. However, as she's going into the cover, her leg gets pulled by Dakota Kai. She's back in WWE, and she has just screwed Rhea Ripley and Io Sky. As with the referee distracted by Dakota, we see Asuka missed Rhea Ripley, and no one saw a damn thing aside from all the fans, as Asuka merely locks in the Asuka lock onto a dazed and vulnerable Mommy, who is forced to not tap but pass out. The Kabuki Warriors have won. they have beaten the top 2 women arguably in the entire company. They have crushed them under their boot, all thanks to Dakota Kai. But where do we go from here? Well, we're just gonna have to wait and see. As if you like this story, I think this might interest you.